Hey everyone, welcome back to Discover and Learn. Today I'm going to talk about how I learned to speak in English, how I gained fluency, how I gained confidence, what activities I did, what practice sessions I followed, and in what time I became fluent in English. I'm going to talk about all these things in this session today. So guys, on that note, welcome back to my channel. I am your communications coach and a soft skill trainer by profession, and I'm here to help you out with all your communications problems and to help you speak English fluently and confidently. But if you haven't subscribed my channel yet, quickly subscribe my channel, like and share my videos, do write your comments in the comment section, and do not forget to press the notification icon so that you get all my videos on time, free of cost, and access to all the amazing content on this channel. What you have to do is stay tuned, stay connected, and watch my entire video to master this skill. If you don't want to subscribe my channel, guys, you can give me a thumbs up at least. Well, coming back to today's topic. Well, we all want to know how people have learned to speak English fluently and confidently, right? When somebody speaks very fluent English, very confident in speaking in English, we start admiring that person. A lot of questions start coming up in our heads, in our brain, in our minds. We want to ask that person that how long it took for him or her to speak fluent English, what processes they followed, what practical tips they have to give, how can I learn to speak English like that person, right? There are lots of things which comes to our mind and we have a lot of curiosity and we want to know a lot of things from that person, right? And we usually do it. I have done it during my childhood. I have asked people like, what should I do? Can you please help me? How should I learn English? What should I do to become fluent and confident like you? I have done this, guys. And since, when I was a kid, I didn't have that access to internet so that I can search and find out like how people learn to speak English. Like right now we have access to everything, right? Whatever question comes to our mind, we can just put it on Google or we can just put it on YouTube and we might get all the answers. We don't have to struggle. We don't have to actually go and ask people, right? But honestly, everybody has a different experience. Everybody has something new to tell. It's not very simple. There's not one process which can help us to become fluent and confident in English. There is no one process or no single journey. It is a mixture of everything. Everybody is unique. Everybody's mindset is different. Everybody's grasping power is different. Understanding is different. Mindsets are different and everybody's growth is different. Everybody's English speaking journey is different, right? So depending on individual, it varies. Okay, so every individual who are fluent and confident in speaking in English has a story to tell, has something unique. So that is why we all should, whenever we get time or whenever we get an opportunity, we can ask this question. We just can ask people about how they became fluent and confident in English or to know about their journey of learning this language. And you will be surprised to know how they have learned this language. So that is why today also I'm going to tell you this story of mine so that you can get to know what I did to become fluent and confident in English. And you can try if it works for you as well. Okay, so as I told you, during my times when I was a kid, I didn't had this exposure, right? I never thought of why English is very much essential, why it is so important. I never had any exposure. I never thought about these questions for a long time. Okay, it was just a school and there was an English subject and teachers used to speak in English. So I also thought that this is a language and we should also try to speak this language because, you have to be in class. You should understand what the teacher is saying and what the textbooks are about. To score well, to participate in the discussions, you have to know English. So that is what was in my mind and that is why I focused on that language. So not knowing the benefits of speaking in English in the long term to get a good job, to be successful in life, to speak to people, right? I had no clue about all these things. So I was just focused on my studies at that time. Just to score well in my exams, I focused on this language. So what I did to understand the language or to learn the language little later. Okay, so for me, two things worked, guys. Reading and writing. These two things have worked for me like wonder. It was a game changer. And it still is. You might think that it is very old school, right? You might start feeling that, I'm just talking about an old school thoughts or old school methods. No, guys, it's not old school. And it still helps us to learn the language and speak the language in a better way. I'll tell you how. So, as I told you, I had the only exposure I had to English language was my textbook and my examination. So what I used to do is, my textbooks were in English, so I used to come back home and I used to read it out loud. I used to read every chapter of every subject out loud. Okay. And then I tried to understand what is said in that book. Okay. Apart from that, sentence by sentence, I used to read and understand what is it trying to say. Okay. If I didn't understand, I went up to somebody to help me out with that. That was the first thing. Second thing was, there were question and answers at the end of every chapter. I used to read out the questions, I used to read out the answers, I used to memorize the answers, understand the answers, and then I used to write it down. Yes, this was another thing I used to practice. So whenever there was any question and answer, I was, remembering or I was memorizing, I used to make it a point that I write it and learn it, or write it and memorize it. Now by writing, you will get to know the sentence structure, you'll get to know what it means, and it will stay there in your memory. Writing is very powerful, guys. It's very powerful. Trust me on this. So whenever you write something, the chances are that you will remember that for a longer duration of time. So I used to practice this unknowingly, but now I know why it helped me. So this was the only practice session in English I used to have. I never had any speaking session at that time. Okay, my teachers were there, so we rarely used to communicate. Not much communication was there. Very limited communication was there. So I never had anybody to speak in English with at that time. So this was the first and the foremost thing I used to do. I used to read out loud. I used to practice writing. These two things. And it helped me to understand the sentence structure. It helped me to speak the language in a better way. Now, when we went to higher classes, like when we approached the boards, when I went to 8th standard, then I realized that no, English is a language which is really essential for my future. If I have to get admission in good college, I have to get into a good stream, I need to know English. I need to speak in English well. I need to crack the exams. I need to crack the GD and PI. So then it struck my mind. So till that time, I used to only practice reading and writing. And I was not fluent and confident in speaking in English by that time. Trust me on this. Then when I realized this, I started thinking of how to practice in English. Right? I didn't have access to the internet. I didn't have access to any other English speaking sessions or anything else. So what I tried doing was, we were 4 friends. So we made it a point that when we are here in school, we will speak to each other in English. Since that time, it came to my mind and we started to make sure that whenever we are in school, whenever we are together, we will talk in English in school. And we started doing this. It was very difficult initially, but we made it a point that we practice it. Even if we were not able to complete our sentences, we were not able to express our ideas, we still started speaking in English. But we made it a point that if somebody is not able to speak correctly, the other person can come in and help that person. So we all were at the same level, but still we made sure that we can help each other so that we also start getting comfortable and familiar with the language. So this was the first thing we made sure that we will speak in English whenever we are in school. And this helped us a lot. Yes. The second thing what I did was whenever I came back home, I used to imitate people. I used to remember some incidences and I used to start repeating those. Okay, now here I used to role play my teachers. Trust me on this, I used to do this. I liked my English teacher a lot. She was a role model for me. I don't know why. Maybe she used to speak in English, so that is why I was a little fond of her. So when I used to come back home, I used to role play her. I used to become like her and I used to dress up like her and I used to stand in front of the mirror and I used to start speaking in English. So whichever subject or whichever thing I wanted to learn or I wanted to talk about, I pretended that I am a teacher and there are students around me and I used to speak in English. I used to address the students in English. I used to take up a chapter and I used to explain that chapter to my virtual audience in English. Yes, guys, I was not aware of any role plays or imitation technique, any shadowing technique, but it was just that I thought of doing something to improve my English and I started doing this. I looked up to my English teachers. So what I did was when I used to come back home, I used to role play her. I used to get into that character of my teacher and I used to stand in front of the mirror and explain things to my virtual audience. So I used to play a role of a teacher who is addressing the class, who is teaching the class, and this helped me a lot. And I was not at all shy, guys. I used to do this and there were people at my home, right? I was in a joint family. People used to come and go. They used to listen to me. They used to laugh also. They used to smile also. But I also smiled. I also laughed at them. I was never embarrassed. I still continued what I was doing. So I was very much focused on that. And trust me on this role play and imitation technique really helped me to become fluent and confident in speaking in English. That was just the start of my journey. So from 8th standard, I started following these methods. Like first was, we made sure that in school, whenever we are there in school, we all 4 of them, we are going to speak in English to each other and we'll correct also each other. Second thing is when I used to come back home, I used to get into the character of a teacher and I used to pretend that it is a virtual classroom and I used to teach the virtual students. Okay, in English. Yes, in English, whatever subject was taught, whatever thing, I just chose a topic, a chapter, a subject, whichever I wanted to at that time. And I used to teach the class. Okay, as the teachers did. So I used to imitate them and I used to role play. So these 2 techniques combined together, I used to practice every single day. And this actually helped me a lot, guys. If you start doing this, you will see a lot of difference. Trust me, I am giving my personal example to you right now. And I can't guarantee more. Try doing this. Try using this technique for 30 days and you will see the difference. Okay, so this is another thing which helped me. Now, then I cracked the exams. I got selected in a good college and I started attending the college there. Now, after my graduation, again, we started thinking of what to do next. So I wanted to do my MBA. Now, MBA is something wherein you need to be very flawless in your English. You have to be a very good communicator, right? Because you have to take part in group discussions and personal interviews are there. You have to crack that to get into a good MBA college. Now, I used to speak English, right? It was very decent English I started speaking. But then, you need something extra to achieve more. So what we started doing was, I came up with a group of people. So we were 6-7 of them. And every single day after dinner, we all 7 of them used to gather at one place and we used to start speaking in English on a topic. So basically, we thought of having a group discussion, and this is the topic we are going to speak on today. So we used to come up with a topic, and then we used to gather together and we all started speaking in English on that topic. So it was a group discussion. We thought of having a group discussion. So initially it didn't work out for us, but then what we did was we started giving time for everybody. Like 1 minute you can speak, then next person, then next person, then next person. So once we got into the habit of speaking for 1 minute on that topic, then we started having group discussions, because group discussions, you have to cut somebody and you have to start speaking. Okay, you can't abruptly just, stop somebody. You have to make some space for you to come in and speak your thoughts. Okay, and you cannot shout, you cannot argue with each other. So those are the rules of group discussions. Initially, it was a disaster. So that is why what we thought was we gave each person 1 minute to speak on that topic. And that also helped a lot, guys. So we practiced just a minute technique, just a minute jam technique. That also helps. So you can just take up any topic and you can speak for 1 minute. That will help you to practice English speaking. Start with 1 minute, go to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever you want to. You can increase your time duration. Okay, then we started getting into the group discussion mode and we started having group discussions. Okay, same with personal interviews. We all came up with a group of questions which were very much asked during personal interviews. So we came up with those questions, we came up with answers, and we used to role play that. One of them became the interviewer and the other person is the interviewee. So we used to sit across the table and we used to ask the question and answer those questions. So we used to do these role plays, follow these techniques so that we can improve on our English and improve on our confidence in speaking in English or answering questions in English. And trust me on this, guys, it really helped us. It really helped all of us, me as well. Okay, so every now and then you have to put in efforts. You have to come up with a new technique to help you grow in your communication skills, right? So you saw my journey. Initially, I started with just reading and writing. The next step, what I did was speaking, practicing English speaking in school and coming back home and imitating and role playing my teacher. This I did. Next level, what I started doing was speaking on a topic for 1 minute and getting involved in group discussions and personal interviews. Right? I started answering questions and I started practicing question and answers. Okay. This is how you also have to come up with your activities or techniques so that you can improve on your English every single day. Okay. You need to think about what next you want to improve on, what next you want to do, and accordingly you choose a technique or a practice session or an activity which can help you to achieve that goal. Okay, so this is how I did, and I'm sure you've got a clue from my experience that how you can also come up with different things to help you speak English fluently and confidently. One more thing I would like to add here is writing is something which I've always practiced. Now, when I was role-playing my teacher, when I was role-playing of teaching a virtual class, I used to take a chalk and a board. I used to keep a chalk and a board and I used to write things there. Whenever I used to explain something or say something, I used to write things there and I used to explain it to them. Okay, it helped me to remember what I have to say then. So I used to write some pointers there and I used to explain those to the virtual classroom. So there also I practiced this. Next, when the GDPI session, when we used to talk for 1 minute on any topic and the GD also. So I used to prepare beforehand on that topic. I used to write pointers and see if I am able to elaborate on that. So this is how I started with. Same way, the PI also, I told you, like we have come up with a long list of questions and answers and we started practicing that. That is also another thing which we used to write and practice. Okay. So every time when I used to practice English speaking, I used to make sure that I have something in writing as well, which will help me to speak in English or remember things while speaking in English. So getting into the habit of writing and speaking definitely will help you to remember things and will help you to become more confident and fluent in speaking in English. Trust me on this. Start following this tip and you will get to know how easy it is to practice English speaking in this way. So guys, that's it for today. I'll see you in my next session. Until then, keep learning, keep speaking, keep watching and keep exploring. See you. Bye-bye and take care.